Is it too early because you don't have a roster for opening day yet to talk about goal setting? And I'm specifically wondering about goal differential. You shaved it down last year. Is there a goal in mind for this year already?
Yeah, and it's not too early to start talking about it. My initial meeting with the players, which was Friday, not Thursday night, we brought that up. And last year, I think we shaved 43 goals off of our difference. And the task ahead of us is that we need to do that again. And when I say 43, that was from 14-15, obviously, last year. We have to do that and repeat it again to be a playoff contender. And that's a pretty big task that's in front of us. It's a responsibility that we all have to assume, coaches, goaltenders, D and forwards. It can come in different ways. It can come by defending better. It can come through better offense. But I think that we have to do that all over again. And the initial shave off, if you will, for lack of a better term, is usually the easiest. The toughest is the last little bit, and it'll be a goal of ours throughout the year.
What squad is going to play tomorrow in Edmonton? The 8, the Whites, and the Blues?
They're all going to be mixed up. They're going to be all mixed up and different. So it's not Team A going one place and Team B. They're going to be mixed up a little bit, and they'll go from there.
Given that you don't have Connor, Leon, and Ryan, how difficult is it to maybe assess the wingers, given that you maybe have got some guys playing in the middle like Hendricks and potentially Versteeg that don't play a lot at center?
Yeah, it's tough, but I think it gives us an opportunity to see if there's a third-line center in that mix right now by playing different guys in there. Obviously, when those three get back, they'll assume their positions. We still have to decide, are we going 3 centers or are we going 2 and moving somebody to the wing? And that can vary throughout the season. But we're only 3 days into training camp. We've got to give some players some time to adapt to some new surroundings, to reacquaint themselves with systems and structure. And that'll happen in the exhibition season. I think our group's ready to play now, and now we can get a true sense of evaluation by looking at video and watching the games over and over.
You have 2 players here on PTOs. Versteeg, I'd like to get a comment on, his chances and the fact that he's been flexible in his career. He's just saying he's played about 45% of his career on the left, 45 on the right, and 10% down the middle. Does that sort of flexibility provide you options and maybe increase the probability that he ends up getting a contract?
Well, he's not a one-tool player when it comes to position, and I think that's a valuable thing. If you have the ability to move and you're comfortable doing it and willing to do it on whatever line, it certainly enhances your chances. And Versteeg has been a veteran player of many years. He's won Stanley Cups. He's been on some real good teams. He's been on some developing teams, and he tends to have an impact wherever he goes. So that's a real positive thing for us to have him here. We've got to give him a little bit of time to find his game. He was over in Europe and then back, and not on the ice every day, but we think that he can challenge for a spot.
Does he have to reaffirm what you guys already thought about him, or does he have to prove he can still play?
Well, as you get further on into your career, you have to find a way to continue to play. And I don't think you have to reinvent yourself, but you have to understand situations. You have to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you have to find a way to leave a mark on the game every night. And veteran players, the smart ones that last a long time, they can do that. And we think he's one of those players. So reestablish his own individual game, find it within the team environment, have a good training camp, and then force us to make decisions is a perfect world for him.
What have been your first impressions of Adam Larsen?
I like him as a person. He's attentive. He asks some real good questions. Seems to have a presence about him in and around the locker room. I think he understands some of our language. In certain situations, Matt Shaw, who we had in San Jose for a lot of years, was in New Jersey with him, and I can tell that he's told me a few times, that's the way we did this, that's the way we did that, so that's a good thing. Very calm on the ice, doesn't seem to have a jittery element to him where he panics or anything like that. Strong defender. But again, that's only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday viewing for me with the group, so it's going to take a little more time.
He doesn't have any problems with the fact that he got traded for Taylor Hall. He says it's 2 other different players. But you think there's going to be a spotlight on him because he got traded for a very popular player?
Well, I don't think he should have any worries at all. Like, we're talking about forward and D-man. We're talking about, a dynamic offensive guy, more a shutdown, stay at home, steady, big minute guy on the back end. To me, that's apples and oranges. So I don't know how you can compare the two fairly, both to Taylor and to Adam. And people will watch, and then they'll make their own. Every night they go home, they're going to be their own general manager. Yeah, I would have made that, or no, I wouldn't have. But that's just the way the business goes. We know we had to get better on the blue line. We still believe we have a lot of work to do there. But we think we're one player or even two players stronger because of Clef's return to health.
Slapachef was really good in camp last year, and then he used to play a bunch of games and he tailed off. Do you notice any different? Do you still consider him as NHL ability and size?
He's still he's an NHL prospect. He looks more confident and understands the language better, understands the coaching staff, knows his teammates. That alone makes a player feel much better coming to camp. So we expect him to really push hard this year. Where it ends up is entirely up to him. I thought today he did a lot of good things on the ice, more by himself, good rushes and good one-on-one play. That will evolve into team play as well, and hopefully we have a real good player there.
What happened to him? Or is it just as easy to say preseason is one thing, as soon as the regular season starts, a different switch?
Well, the game changes, and it doesn't just go on, in game one. By the time you hit game 10, it's the real NHL. It's flying, and it's hard, and the veterans have settled in. They get their legs and their timing back. The rhythm of the games keep going, and it becomes a real test for young players that haven't played here before. And well, that's one of the things. And then as depth comes into play and injuries begin to happen, Leon came up last year and was tremendous. So all of a sudden somebody else gets pushed out, and that was last year. We're concerned about what he does this year. We've given him a fresh start, and we believe he can do it.
This is a much bigger forward group than what you started with 1 year ago. How necessary were those moves to bring in bigger personnel?
Well, size is great as long as it can get around the rink. And I think Patrick Maroon's a prime example. He understands how fast the game is. He's still a big man. He's still got a tenacity to him. He's still physically tough. But he's a little bit lighter now because he understands he needs pace. The fast teams, the quick teams, the tenacious teams are the ones that are winning. Size certainly helps that, but the speed element still has to be number one. The size will help wear other teams down. Lucic, Darnell's a bigger player. Larsen's a big player himself. Maroon. A lot of these players weren't around at the beginning of last year, and it certainly gives us an element to protect pucks a little bit more, to wear other teams out if we're using it properly.
Does the league always change and evolve, though? Pittsburgh won the Cup with a fast team, and yet in the Western Conference, bigger teams tend to do well, apart from, say, Chicago, which is kind of a hybrid team.
I think it does change. It goes from year to year. LA, big, strong, heavy, wins a cup, and a lot of organizations want to copy that. And then the next year, speedy team wins. I really believe the good teams have an identity. They scout, they draft towards it, and they're not chasing it year after year because it becomes mass confusion that way.